Okay, hello there, thrill seekers, and that, of course, was a bit of the old Husker Du song, 8 Miles High. Yeah, I know, it's actually a bird song, but Husker Du did it too. And there's Ziggy in the background, if you can see him. Put some stuff on his belly this morning, and hopefully that'll keep him from licking it, but we'll find out as the video goes on. All right, once again, February 12th through 18th, I will be at Hokkyoji, which is a Zen monastery in the middle of the wilds of Minnesota, and I will be there doing a sesshin. I'll be doing talks and things during a sesshin, which is an intensive multi-day Zen practice, and if you want information about how to attend, go to write an email to hokkyoji@hokkyoji.org. That's where they'll tell you all about how you can attend. So for today's topic, I would like to talk about the term Zen Master. And what precipitated this was the other day a podcast that I was on a long time ago advertised itself on Twitter, and the title contained the word Zen Master, and some commenter there took umbrage to that. I remember that the guy who interviewed me for the podcast had used the term Zen Master to refer to me when he introduced me, and I usually don't like that term, but that wasn't what I wanted to spend the podcast discussing, so I didn't want to, detour the whole discussion into a discussion about what is and isn't a Zen master, because it was about mental health and stuff. So I didn't call him out or say anything. But I did say on Twitter that I don't ever use the term Zen master myself. I remember that Tim, my first Zen teacher, had told me that Kobun Chino, who was his teacher, Kobun Chino Roshi, had said that when people would call him a Zen master, his retort was, "Nobody masters Zen," which I think is a great way of putting the whole subject to bed, because the term Zen master sort of implies that you can have mastery over Zen, and you use it in things like archery or other, I guess, martial arts things. But I think even in those cases, there's always some other level to go to. So you never master it at all. The other reason the term bugs me is that the term Zen Master is a translation of a Japanese word Zenji. And Zenji, I had only heard used to refer to dead people, particularly famous dead people, like Dogen Zenji. Dogen is often called Dogen Zenji. And I'd never heard it used for a living person, so I asked Muho, former abbot of Antaiji, who I did a video with last year sometime, about this, and he said that the term is sometimes used to refer to the abbots of Eiheiji and Sojiji, which are the two main temples in the Soto Zen organization, but never for any other living person as far as Soto is concerned, and he said he'd never heard it at all used for a living person in the Rinzai tradition. So it's a very high honorific, and one would not normally call oneself a Zen master. The most egregious example I know of somebody calling himself Zen master was the famous Zen Master Rama, who has now passed away, but his real name, I don't know if you can hear that airplane. I hope it doesn't bug you. And the beeping of the things to scare away the critters in the yard. Sorry about those noises. Anyway, Zen Master Rama I think his real name was Frederick Lenz, something like that. And he was a guy who had this big afro, and he was a very commercial dude, and he was selling a product in the 80s was kind of his heyday. And his Zen masterness, the way he got to be a Zen master, was because some dead Zen master came to him in a dream and conferred upon him that title. So there you go. There's a whole thing about Zen Master Rama. If you want to go look up his stuff on the internet, it's pretty scandalous. But I don't want to talk about Zen Master Rama that much, just to say that he was kind of faking the whole thing. The other two terms that sometimes get misused these days are Sensei and Roshi. So, okay. In Japan, a sensei just means teacher. And so anybody can be referred to as a sensei, really, if they have even some qualifications. I've heard hairdressers referred to as sensei. It's kind of a way of blowing smoke up somebody's ass, if you want to use that term, of flattering somebody. When I used to work for Tsuburaya Productions, the job I'd had before I came to Tsuburaya Productions, the makers of Ultraman, was that I'd been an English teacher in a school. And so sometimes in a kind of joking way, my coworkers would refer to me as sensei, usually if they wanted to flatter me somehow or just kind of rib me, but it wasn't used seriously. The other term is Roshi, which means old teacher. And it's kind of an honorific that's applied to, that can be applied to living people, but you would never, ever call yourself Roshi in Japan. Nor would you call yourself sensei. These terms are used by other people. I mean, Japan is really kind of different about that. Even the word san, like I'm Brad Warner-san. Well, I wouldn't say that in Japan because that would sound weird. Even though in English you might refer to yourself as Mr. Warner or Mrs. or Miss Warner, you would never in Japan put the san at the end of your own name because that would sound rude. And it would sound even ruder and weirder to call yourself some sensei or to call yourself Roshi. Now, in America, these terms have kind of been appropriated in the Zen world and are often used as titles. And I believe this is something specific to the Sambo Kyodan tradition, which is, in America, it's Maizumi Roshi's lineage, started in Los Angeles. I think they called it Los Angeles Zen Center, the place that he founded. And in that lineage in America, sometimes these are used as titles. I remember one teacher from that group came and introduced herself. I've forgotten her name. I'm so sorry. But let's say her last name was Jones. And she introduced herself as, "Hi, I'm Linda Jones Roshi." And I just was like, it's like nails on a chalkboard after living for 11 years in Japan to hear somebody refer to herself as Roshi. Because that's like saying, I'm King Poop of Poo-Poo Island or something. It's really inflating yourself. And it's not done. But, I guess we have to sort of accept that these things change in other cultures when they get appropriated by other cultures, and so that's just how it works. So I sort of accept that there's people out there who are calling themselves sensei and roshi, and honestly, I don't know what the difference is in their tradition. I don't know what the difference between a sensei and a roshi is. Once somebody was criticizing me, this is a few years ago, saying they were upset that I was talking about Genpo Roshi, who's a guy who started this process called Big Mind, and you can watch my 15-year-old video about that if you want to see it, But somebody from that organization said, "Oh, Brad is criticizing a Roshi when he is not even yet a sensei." And at that time, I'd never heard those terms used in that way, and I just thought it was bizarre. So I don't know what it means in their tradition. I guess a Roshi is higher than a sensei, just based on context and just the way I've heard it used. But it's kind of meaningless. I started calling Nishijima Roshi, my teacher, Nishijima Roshi. I used to call him just Nishijima, or when I would talk to him face to face, I would call him Sensei sometimes. A lot of his students did. But I never started calling him Roshi until after I started encountering all these people from the Sambo Kyodan lineage in America, and realizing that if I just called him Nishijima or if I called him Nishijima Sensei, they didn't understand that he was actually a Dharma transmitted teacher. So, okay, the other part of it is this. Who is a Zen Master? Well, okay, nobody's a Zen Master unless they're dead and old, or the abbot of Eiheiji and Sojiji, but The term is sometimes used in English to refer to somebody who has received Dharma transmission. And occasionally in the past, I used it ironically. Like when I made my first website, before there was even blogs and things, or at least before I knew what a blog was, I made a website. And I put this picture of me dressed up in one of the Tsuburaya Productions monster costumes, and underneath it I put the caption, "I am a Zen Master." And I meant that as a joke, but then later on I found some people didn't get the joke. I used it, I think, also in Hardcore Zen. I said, "That's Zen Master doofus to you, buddy." I think that's one of the chapter titles. I forgot, something like that. And it was a chapter about the Dharma transmission ceremony. And again, I was using the term ironically and jokingly. I wasn't trying to seriously claim it for myself. And these days, I don't even use it jokingly. I just avoid it altogether, except like what I said at the beginning, that in that video somebody called me a Zen Master, and like I said, I didn't want to spend 15 minutes lecturing him about what a Zen Master is and is not. I wanted to get to the topic we had agreed to talk about, so I just left it. So I just just ignored it and didn't worry too much about it. So for myself, I'm not too worried about it. If you want to call me Zen Master, you want to call me Roshi or Sensei, you can. I don't use those titles for myself. I suppose I could, because I'll be 60 this year, so maybe I'm a Roshi. Literally it means old teacher, as I said, so I'm officially old this year. No one can deny that. But still, I think it's too highfalutin and too, it sounds too much like bragging to use those terms. So there you go, in case you ever wondered what the term Zen Master was and what it means. I hope that explains it. And if you want to hear me do more explanations of things like this, you can go to the URL that you're seeing on the screen below, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. There you will find links to my PayPal and my Patreon accounts. Those are my main ways of making a living, and I appreciate your support. But as always, you don't got to support me if you don't want to support me. We will see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Bye. Hey, Ziggy. What'd you think of that? What'd you think of 8 Miles High? Was that a good version? I don't know. Was it as good as Husker Du? Alright. Are you enjoying the sunbeam, Ziggy? Alright, we'll see you later. Have fun in the sun.